Today we're looking at the Manurhin MR73 revolvers. Let's check them out. The Manurhin revolvers are not that well known here in the States. These are made in France, and since 1973 these have been some of the best revolvers made in the world, other than the Korth from Germany. But these have a lot of precision put into them, and they really bring a premium in price because of it. Used by the military, police, special forces, they're in France, and they really hold it to the test. The one thing that's really unique about the Manurhin is how strong it is. And you know, I've always thought that the Ruger really made a super strong action to be able to handle really super Magnum loads. But the Manurhins actually were designed to withstand 150 full house 357 Magnums every day. In fact, there are cases of these pistols purported to have shot over 1 million rounds through a pistol. A number of cases where they've shot 175,000 plus. Now, I was very familiar with Manurhin as far as producing the Walther PPs, because after the war, Germany was not allowed to build them, so Karl Walther licensed the Manurhin plant in France to build Walther PPKs and PPs. Once I was doing some research, I found these revolvers, and I was really interested because I'd never heard anything much about them. Once I did hear something about them, the prices are incredible. I mean, they are very expensive, at least the ones that are here in the US. But even in France, they're pretty expensive. I know I saw one guy in France said that these cost about 1,700 euros. And here in the States, on Gunbroker, for a new Manurhin, they were going for up to $6,000 for some of the rare models. That just gives you an idea of the collectability. Now, these are definitely surplus pistols. They have been around the block, needless to say. I mean, you can see the finish is very worn, especially on this Parkerized version, which, honestly, guys, I love this Parkerized. This is the rough finish. I mean, you can tell that this is not a safe queen. It has been through it. And who knows what kind of story that these revolvers could tell. I mean, the bluing on this one is still pretty much around, and you can tell that it was a very beautiful finish at one time. These are police models, and they are 357 Magnum, 38 Special. They did make a cylinder that was 9mm that was a conversion for these. But in France, it's against the law to have 9mm because it's a caliber of war. And so they discontinued the 9mm cylinder to civilians back in the 80s. But of course, 357 Magnum, I mean, hey, you can't go wrong with that. But the barrel length goes from 2.5 inches up to 10 inches. In fact, some of the Special Forces units with the 10-inch barrel had a bipod on the front, a scope on top, and were used for more precision shooting. These are very popular in Europe as a competition pistol with the adjustable sights. They make a number of different models. Now, these again are the combat models. This is really a quintessential combat revolver, if there was one. The sights again are real low, front blade, but not too hard to pick up, but definitely combat sights. And with the 4-inch barrel, you're going to get a little bit more sight radius, but the 3-inch barrel shoots well. The grip is a little unorthodox, obviously. I mean, it is a rubber grip, and these were really military grips. The one thing I do like about it is it does have somewhat of a beaver tail. So you're getting a beaver tail effect, and the recoil is, you know, you can really hold it for second and third shots. with the wood grips. They're very beautiful walnut wood grips. They are impossible to find here in the States, and when you do, they are super expensive. They do make some custom grips, but I saw some of those going up to the $300 range. Now, these are being imported by Century Arms right now. They are a 6-shot revolver, and they just lock up very nice. The ones that I've seen, of course, these two are just exceptional. They do have the kind of the Smith & Wesson push forward to release the cylinder. The barrels are pinned, and the ejector rod is covered. More or less a K-frame in size, but really strong, super strong. One of the appeals to this pistol, though, is that they spend 12 hours per revolver at the factory in hand fitting. So these pistols are very well fitted. The hammer forged barrel really makes it strong, and not only that, they forge the receivers, the cylinder, and the barrel ahead of time. So all of this has a really strong alloy. In fact, it's called an ordnance steel alloy. They try to make these as strong as they can. Really, the French military, the special forces units, could not find a revolver that they felt would stand up to the rigors of their trials and of their training. So they designed these revolvers for that purpose. You'll note that the hammer comes straight back instead of more of a curve of most of your American-made revolvers. It is nice double action, single action. Trigger pull is very smooth. Now on double action, it's heavy, but it's really smooth, and of course a lot of that probably has to do with the use that this has been through. With single action, a nice crisp snap, no over travel at all. I mean, it locks up. A lot of the competition models and civilian models have trigger stops right here. These revolvers can be adjusted internally. But one of the great things about the adjustments is, even though it lessens the trigger pull, it does not lessen the hammer strike. And so you're going to get positive ignition no matter what. But even shooting double action, this was not a bad trigger pull at all. Because of the smoothness, it was very consistent. You can still see the bluing coming through, a very beautiful finish on it. One of the things you're going to note, though, is these being imported. Import marks are on here, right on the barrel, and this is from Century Arms. Made in France, right here, and then the Manurhin logo, which this is beginning to get a lot of wear, probably from the user and perspiration and everything that's wearing some there. On the other side, we have MR73, which is model MR73 caliber 357 Magnum. Same thing on the Parkerized model, and just has actually the import marks on one side, and then on the other side it has the Manurhin markings right here on the barrel. There's just something about this Parkerized version that I just love, and it's funny, I put some pictures up on Instagram and a lot of people just were going crazy over this. I mean, it's just got that great look to it. You know, a lot of times, especially American shooters, we own a number of guns if we're into guns, if we're gun enthusiasts. And what happens is you don't typically wear out one particular pistol because we're shooting different ones. You can tell that somebody was living with this revolver and depending on it for day to day. As far as accuracy goes, the 38's pretty good little circle there. I was shooting a little bit high. This is actually where I was aiming, and this is actually for high. Here, this is the 357 Magnum. And good group, but definitely shooting high here. But these guns are known to be super accurate. Now, both of these obviously are surplus and they've been well worn, but still you're getting good accuracy out of these pistols. Supposedly, and this may only refer to the Target models, but these pistols had to at least be 0.8 inches at 25 yards to leave the factory. And that's the kind of craftsmanship and accuracy that is achievable, especially with a brand new gun. And I want to thank HPR for furnishing both the 38 and the 357 Magnums. Definitely a big difference between the two rounds. 10 pounds 13 ounces. 10 pounds 13.5 ounces. Okay, let's get the single action. 4 pounds 5.9 ounces. 4 pounds 10 ounces, so under 5 pounds, and it is pretty crisp. We're going to try the 3-inch model. 4 pounds 5 ounces, and it is about the same. 10 pounds 9.5 ounces. These are pretty close to the same. It doesn't really surprise me, again, because of the way that these are made. The weight on the 3-inch with the rubber grip is 32.4 ounces. The 4-inch 34.1 ounces. We're going to take the grips off. We're going to take just a peek at the internals, considering this is such a different type revolver. It is a 2-piece grip. We have a nice leaf spring right here, and you'll want to take these apart because you want to clean this up. Well, these have been obviously in some kind of storage for a long time. The rubber grips fit together with these little locks. You can see the screw. One thing I would like to suggest, though, especially when you're dealing with firearm screws, is to get a good set of screwdrivers that are meant for gunsmithing, and the Brownell's Magna tips are the best, and you can get all kind of different tips for it, as you can see here, really to fit that screw just right. I'm going to pop the plate off. You can see the machining that's done inside this revolver is just incredible. I'm definitely not going to delve into that, so there you go, that's it. But what a work of art. That is just absolutely beautiful. One thing to note, there is one of the screws that's smaller, and it goes in that top piece. So place your plate back, and whenever you're taking firearms apart, don't just assume, double check. Sometimes the parts can be a little difficult to find, so I would be really careful taking these apart, and that's why I didn't take it all the way down. At one point I did look to get some wood grips, maybe just to have the wood, but really, as far as shooting and shootability, this grip is great. What a beauty. One of the things I wanted to point out, though, concerning the strength of these revolvers is they are tested at the factory with .357 Magnum that has pressures up to 30% over what most revolvers can stand. And that way, when they fire these, they know that these are some of the toughest in the world. And a lot of that has to do, of course, with the hammer forged barrels and also with the forged ordnance steel that they use. And so these are super strong revolvers, and they will last you a long time. Now, to tell you that you're going to get a revolver that's going to be perfect and you're going to be able to shoot it, I don't know. These are surplus revolvers, and sometimes, it's like the roulette wheel. You can check them out at centuryarms.com if you can find it. A lot of times these are in the odd lots, and they're hard to find unless you're a dealer. If you're a dealer, you can usually find stuff like this. But guys, your best source for these typically is Gunbroker. And so you can check it out and see if you can find some of these. I think at one time there were a number. I didn't see that many the last time I looked. These are surplus. They're coming into the country right now, so you should be able to find these. You can ask your dealer to see if he can get a hold of one directly from Century. Guys, when these surplus firearms come into the country, as I've always said, it's a matter of supply and demand. And there's usually a big glut in the market, and then they dry up, and the price is low at first, but then it starts to rise to the true value of the firearm. So if you're looking for, whether it's these Manurhins or other pistols that are surplus, if you're interested in them, buy them when they first come in, and you'll get them at a good price. And if you hesitate, either you're not going to get one or you're going to pay a lot more money for it. So the Manurhin MR73 revolvers, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. because it's a and with that we're just how much I took this apart into these revolvers and then they were gone, and then when they did find them, the price was up there.